welcome back. Okay, so we went ahead and leveled that out, more or less. It needed a little bit more dirt than it already had, but otherwise it was all pretty even. This one I know for a fact we can't raise it up any, and I'm hesitant to lower it any. So I'm thinking that if we just play with where the water is going, that we might be able to get something out of here, but it's going to need more dirt for us to actually make this land usable. So this one's going to take a bit of time. Ultimately, though, I'm thinking that I'm going to put a well here and maybe a mill here and build some other stuff further that way. With that being said, though, I went ahead and put some chests in a few buildings. Obviously finished up the walls. Started moving the items to where they really should be. Cleaned up my inventory very nicely. These trees have grown a bit more. Not really much to say there. This wall's taken care of. I left a spot for the road over here. Don't really know how to take care of that until we actually start working on this piece. But for right now, it works just fine. And I dropped that down and put that post there. And it looks pretty nice. It doesn't look like there's just dirt hanging out there. It actually has an edge and a nice flow to it. Extended the road a little bit. There was some dirt showing under here, so I replaced it with the same edging we have for the rest of the dirt. With that being said, though, I decided to go ahead and see if I could get some more dirt, get some more stone. All in all, just work on getting more of the roads taken care of, because a lot of the parts that we're working on right now, honestly, we need a lot of stone to do. And we haven't really built with much in the way of stone so far. We've built with mud, we've built with wood, but we really have not messed with stone or anything that would need metal as of yet. I mean, obviously we have metal tools, but still. So I came on over here, dug out the pit that we had filled. Once again, would not have had to do that if I hadn't filled it back in. So I ended up doing twice the amount of work. But with that being said, it's going to yield a net good result here. And it's a little dark here, so let me see if I can... just maybe get a few torches going on in here. At least that way we don't have eternal darkness the entire way down. I mean, are we gonna have darkness? Probably. Does it need to be as dark as it is? Definitely not. But anyhow, I started digging that out. Gonna want to grab some more sticks before I do any more. Hopefully we can find some quick ones over here. And while I'm looking for sticks... Ooh. New arrow? Yeah, new arrow. Sweet. While I'm looking for sticks, let me go ahead and explain why I do that. I like taking core samples every so often, so that way I can find out what different minerals are in the areas I'm working with. This does a few different benefits. Instead of looking, what, thousands of blocks to try to find different minerals, all you have to do is just look underneath of where you are. Sure, it requires a bunch of sticks to get down there. Sure, it requires, you know, some work and maybe some durability on your pickaxe. but it does not require long, hard to plan, hard to stock journeys where you get there and end up being more like, oh well, still didn't find what I was looking for. So yeah, just the simple advantage of finding what you're, if it's not what you're looking for, it's finding 2 other rocks without having to go much more than like 100 blocks. That's a pretty big benefit. So yeah, every time you have a different stone biome, just dig a core sample. Don't dig it at the edge of the biome though. I mean, honestly, go in like 20 or 30 blocks at the least. Ideally would be center, and then drill down so you can see what's there and what's not. So with that being said, I kind of want to share what I discovered down here. Provided I can actually get down here and light it up decent for you. Okay. Here we are at the bottom. Found some diorite. Now, that might not sound like a big achievement. Oh wow, diorite, what's it used for, is what you're asking. Well, let me tell you what it's used for. Diorite is one of the few rocks that we have that is considered a igneous rock. What is igneous rock, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Igneous rock, simply put, is rock that is formed by the magma of the earth. And it oftentimes has an awful lot of metal mixed into the rock composite, and it's an extremely strong type of rock. So, why is that important, you ask? Well, igneous rocks can be used as primitive anvils for some soft metals. Soft metals, i.e. tin, zinc, copper, different soft metals. Technically, you could probably use it with gold, but I don't really know why you would want to. Since gold is, it's so soft that your igneous rock would actually leave like a impression on the gold. You'd want something that was a little bit flatter, a little bit nicer. If you could get like a nice flat, smooth igneous rock by like grinding it down, yeah, I guess you could use it for that, but nah, that's not the way TFC is designed. TFC is just basically designed for it to be your first anvil. And for the entire discussion to be left at that. With that being said, we do need to go ahead and grab ourselves a raw piece of stone. We've gone over how to make these before. You just go ahead and dig out the different sides that are connecting it. Very much like we have here. And once all the sides have been removed, there you go. So now that we have what we came here for, I'm going to go ahead and close this one down. We don't really need any more. Later on, I'll probably dig deeper and find out if there's another layer below that. But right now, I have an igneous rock. And my need for finding things out is at this point just different design features. If I don't want the rocks I'm using right now, I could always use the, a new type. And I might eventually open that up into a full-blown quarry so that I can just collect a lot of rocks from it and not have to worry about getting interrupted by collecting metal. But I kind of want to dig out the metal first. I don't see a point in having a quarry as long as I'm already removing stone. with my mine. So let's go actually use this. Let's place it down, everything like that. You'll notice that there's a bit of a change here. In a little bit, I'll go over how to make the bloomery. So far, all I have is just the shell. It's not that pretty, not that nice, whatever. I'm thinking I want to put the anvil right here, though. So, because the later ones, the ones that are made of metal, don't take up the full block, and I want a nice solid place to put the anvil in the first place, I'm going to go ahead and remove the block below it. And there we go. Hopefully, that will do what we want. And it does. Now to keep it from turning back into stone, just plop a hammer in here, and it'll stay as a stone anvil. Now that that's said, we actually can do an awful lot of things. We can take our flux, we can do all sorts of different things, and weld these together, make ourselves a proper copper anvil. And then all we have to do is find some more minerals, like if we can find some cassiterite, which smelts down into things like tin. We can combine the copper and the tin to make some bronze. If we don't find any of that, if we can find some bismuth or some zinc, we can combine those together with the copper and make some bismuth bronze. We really can't do either one of those. We can find some silver and some gold and blend it with the copper and make black bronze, but that's a pretty hard recipe to get because, quite frankly, that recipe's been lost for, I want to say, about 1,500 years. Yeah, for about 15 or more 100 years, it's been lost. So we'd be guessing. My main goal is to find some cassiterite, but let's face it, in the real world, there's only one country, one small region that we know of that has a cassiterite mine. It's a pretty rare resource, actually. And likewise, in TFC, it's still going to be pretty rare. So we really have to go start digging some core samples, start sampling the minerals, see if we can find an area with some metals we can make an alloy with. And a lot of that's just going to be a time-consuming process, getting lots of sticks to make ladders, using up our pick, using our prospector's pick. We could go adventure far and wide, see if we get lucky and see some surface ore. If we do find some surface ore, that increases the chance of us finding something below. But even so, it's still going to be a hunt and peck game, just like we did with the copper. So, with that being said, I'm going to do some more work off camera. And, oh, one other thing that I did not let you know. Go ahead and share this. The pigs have moved in here. Don't ask why. I don't know. But they thought it was a good place. Now, if you notice, the little affection meter has a white border around it, which means I'm not going to lose any affection. And once that meter turns gold, it means I've capped out on affection with them. These are still wild ones, so they aren't going to have a full faith and trust in me. That's okay. The second generation, the ones that are born and are raised their entire life around me, they'll have a lot better chance of being more familiar. And this little sow is pregnant, due to give birth on January the 3rd. With that being said, though, I've decided to name these two crazy blokes as the mayor of this town. So, if you would, they are Monsieur de Piggy Piggy. With that being said, I will talk to you guys after I get quite a bit more work done, and I actually have something again to show you. Okay, I just realized I forgot to tell you guys how to make the bloomery. So sorry, completely forgot. Okay, it basically starts, first of all, with the bloomery block. So, this thatch block is going to take the place of that. You put a block here, 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 and on top. Basically surrounded on all sides except for where the face is and where the back is. Where the back is, you put another block. You surround it on all sides except for where the bloomery block is and on top of it. This block is going to be where you put a bunch of charcoal to start the blooming process. From there, you build your chimney. It goes on top of the starting block and can go as high as 3 blocks tall. You're going to be putting blocks all around that too. So in short, it kind of looks like an elbow. Now if you wanted to add more blocks for decorative purposes, which is what I've done, you're more than welcome to do that, but it has to have those basic blocks taken care of. On a more historical point of view, bloomeries were more or less nothing more than a fire pit that they put clay building up the walls, and then they would constantly put the either dirt or ore that they found on top, then put some more either charcoal or wood or whatever burnable hot burning substances they could find in on top, and layering one after the other. So ore, fuel, ore, fuel, ore, fuel. And they'd keep doing that until it got all the way up to the top. In like manners, we're going to do the same thing. Only difference is, instead of having a temporary clay bloomery, which is going to have to be broken down and literally pulled apart for us to retrieve the bloom, they've done it a bit differently in Terrafirmacraft, where you open up the bloomery door, and then you use, like, I think it's a pickaxe, I'm not sure, it might be a shovel, but you just basically remove the bloom itself from the bottom. It still has to be fed from the top, though. And that's where we're going to have things up here, where we're going to be throwing things like charcoal and other things like magnetite, limonite, or what's the other one? Or hematite. Limonite, hematite, and magnetite. Mainly the 3 ferrous ores that we can find in as well. With that being said, you can see the outline right here. You can see it over there, and then you can see it in the chimney as well. So that's that. Decided to go ahead and use some of the leftover spare rocks that we were getting from getting the anvil, the diorite, to go ahead and put in a floor for the potter. It's been a while since we've talked about the topic of finishing up the potter's house. The only thing it really needs is just technically a little bit of glass and floor and some furniture. Obviously we still don't have any beds yet. I haven't gone and tracked down any sheep, and we haven't killed enough spiders to really use spider silk. Sadly, this mod does not have anything like caterpillars or silkworms that we could use to gather silk off of. So, yeah. Anyhow, I like the look of the diorite cobblestone. I'm gonna go back and grab more. Finish up the floor here. Gonna go ahead and... That's silkworm. It's a pretty wood. Does not look at all like the wood though. It's a pinkish and that's a white. Whatever. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this. Throw a door in, throw some more glass in. There's still some of the windows that I'm not sure about because we don't have the buildings on the other sides. So I might put in some temporary windows, much like we did on this, just to kind of make it safer, give it that aesthetic look, but still if a building comes there later and replaces it or prevents it from happening, we can still easily knock it out, fill in the hole as a wall, and move on. Ah, rain, 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 rain. It's obnoxious. But yeah, that's what's going on. I will talk to you guys later. And welcome back. Okay, so what we've gotten done so far is we've finished up the floor in here. Decided to go with some smooth twilight for some, you know, basic kitchen area for them. Sorry, let me light that up real quick. There we go. And have installed some temporary windows. We also have dug out some pit kilns 2 blocks away on each side from anything that we want to keep. I don't know that that's the distance. I don't want it to be really close. So, yeah. With that being said, got some ore, about to smelt it all up. Got an extra clay vessel in here, and a lot of molds in here. So I'm gonna start these up. When I finish having these run, I'll come back with you guys and we will make our first anvil. So I will be back in about 8 hours. And welcome back. These are not quite done yet, but they are so close it's laughable. While we're waiting on those final steps, I'm gonna quickly go over some of the details of exactly what I'm doing. I already have about 5 ingots that are copper. So we're trying to basically get these copper ingots smashed together into double ingots so that we can use them in our crafting grid in a pattern like this to get ourselves an anvil. With that being said, we need to weld them on an anvil. So how do you weld ingots on an anvil if you don't have an anvil? That's why we had the igneous rock. Now there are a few tricks to doing that. Shift clicking is a really useful one. With that being said though, shift clicking is also, although it's fast, it's still a, how do I put this gently? A dangerous thing because of where the priority of slots goes. So there are ways to work around that. Some of the ways you can work around it is by filling the slots you don't want it to take. Take for instance, when we go over to the anvil, I'm going to shift click my onion into the anvil, which will go immediately to the working slot, which is slot 1. Slot 2 and 3 are welding slots. So once these cool off, I can shift click them immediately into the weld, and then just simply hit weld. And it won't be an issue. However, we also need to get these ingots heated up. So while those are heating, we're just waiting on these to basically come back and say, okay, we're ready for you to work with us. That one's not quite there yet. Those aren't quite there yet either, which is, I guess, kind of good. You really have to keep these still pretty hot in order to weld them. In real life, we call that temperature the sweating temperature. because it's the temperature at which, when you look at the metal, it looks like it's sweating. And that one's probably going to cool down so much that we won't be able to use it. However, once these get up to the weldable state, we'll pull out a couple, throw that one back in. And we'll just kind of try to keep it as a balancing act until we have them all trickle down. Now, if I were to do this all from immediately melting it all down, it would be no problem at all. But we're not working with it like that this circumstance. So we're gonna have to wait and reheat some ingots. So while we're waiting, I'm just gonna help myself to some chocolate and enjoy the wait. Well, that's an orange. So let's grab these, throw that in. And then we just have one left. Now, one thing to keep in mind is, when it says danger, it means it's about to melt. So you just take it out until it no longer says danger, and then you let it take a little bit, and then you can throw it back in. This will help even out the temperatures, so that you can have them both at the weldable state at the same time. There we go. All thanks to my onion trick. Now all we have to do is take these up here, form a cute little pattern like this, and take our anvil. Now notice it says overburdened. That's because you can't much walk with a anvil in your hands. Yes, you can. Quite frankly, I do it all the time. However, for whatever reason, they didn't want you to. So we just have to respect the game developer's decision to not be happy with you doing that. And when I say I do all the time, yes, I used to shoe horses before I moved up here to Illinois, so yeah. Working with a forge, working with an anvil, those were all pretty much things I did on a regular daily basis. And we now have a new anvil. It's nice. You can stick copper in here, hit the plans button, tell it to make certain things. And moving forward, the reason this is important is you need something a little bit stronger than igneous rock to be able to work things like bronze on. So at this point, all we are waiting on before we can start getting a bloomery up and working and start getting things like iron and steel is we're just waiting on some alloys. With that being said, I think that's enough for today, and I'm going to call it quits and see you guys tomorrow. Have fun!